Soundstripe.
Welcome to our podcast, When Life Gives You Lemons. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Palmy. We consider ourselves disability advocates and intend to spotlight some disability issues and things we find interesting that we frequently encounter when we're out and about. Also, some history on disability that we find interesting.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast, When Life Gives You Lemons. Hi, Palmy.
Hey, Kevin.
How are you?
Well, the question is, how are you?
I am okay.
So, since we've been out, Kevin's had surgery on his arm, and now he's in a cast up to his elbow. All from the doctor, all the reports are that everything went well, and we are 5 weeks out from being castless. And is that the word?
I don't know. In some parts of the world, you have social casts, so I'm thinking that's not the best word to use. But
Well, you'll be without a cast and be able to use your wrist properly. So we're looking forward to that.
lucky me.
So what's our topic today?
Well, we were going to talk a bit about COPD, or Chronic Obstructive Pulmonary Disease. This is a progressive lung disease that makes it difficult to breathe. No, it's not asthma or emphysema.
Those are separate diseases.
Yeah. It's often caused by long-term exposure to irritant gases or particulate matter, most commonly from cigarette smoke. And Palmy's going to talk to you about some key points about COPD. Specifically,
Symptoms. So one symptom would be shortness of breath, especially during physical activity. Chronic cough, often producing mucus. Wheezing or whistling sound when breathing. Chest tightness or heaviness when trying to breathe. Frequent respiratory infections. Fatigue and lack of energy. And unintended weight loss.
Okay, and these are causes of COPD in order of
Or most frequently
encountered: smoking, air pollution, genetic factor, secondhand smoke.
So go into the genetic factor a little bit. What is that?
Well, for example, I have a neuromuscular disease. It's most commonly affected by genetic factors. I am not affected by those genetic factors, but the best of my knowledge. But of course, I haven't gotten to every possible genetic test yet, so I have to wait for that.
Well, specifically, it's a genetic factor, the alpha 1. Is that what it's noted here?
Well, some factors of ataxia, like you have difficulty swallowing or breathing. And in essence, what you're doing is when you're swallowing, you're not swallowing everything. You're having some minuscule particulate matter left over from, say, eating. If you're eating cracker, visualize your teeth chopping into crackers. You have big pieces and you have little pieces. The little pieces that are stuck in the recesses of your teeth and gums are going to be there. And usually you can wash them out by drinking some water. But if you take breath through your mouth before you do that, you end up choking like I do because you inhaled some of that particulate matter.
Right.
That's what they mean by genetic causes.
Okay. And then the last one?
Secondhand smoke is very dangerous because if you look at it, the smoke that a smoker inhales through a cigarette most often goes through a filter. The secondhand smoke is that smoke combined with unfiltered smoke, and you're just inhaling it.
Without the filter.
As an example, the first time when I got to Fort Hood, Texas, everyone in the office smoked but me. And during the winter, when all the windows were closed, it was like you walk in and see
fog,
about a knee-high level of smoke, from the ceiling down.
Yeah.
So unless I were to lay on the floor all day, I was not going to be able to avoid it.
Yeah, get clean air.
Yeah, so I did a lot of secondhand smoke. And yes, I do have like a very touch of COPD. It's hard to describe.
Well, you had asthma too, so that affected that too.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when you have COPD, there's complications that arise from having that, and you have heart problems due to the increased strain on your heart for trying to get the air through to go into your blood stream. Respiratory infections, we talked about that. Very common is pneumonia, double pneumonia, etc. Lung cancer, of course, and depression due to the chronic illness. Being ill all the time makes you depressed.
Yeah, it certainly does. I'm sure just about everyone affected by any chronic illness can say it does.
To drive you to depression, yeah.
Yeah. Prevention, what you can do. The most common thing is quit smoking. Second most common is avoid exposure. Again, avoid that secondhand smoke. Don't lock yourself in a room with a bunch of smokers.
And nowadays, I think it's a little better off because a lot of places, especially businesses, have restrictions with smoking because we've now figured out that smoking is not good for you. We have a lot of bans on smoking indoors, especially, and stuff like that. So I think it's easier to avoid secondhand smoke. And there's a lot of knowledge out there to let people know that smoking is bad for you. However, there's vaping. We need to investigate more. Maybe that might be a topic we venture into because I'm not very familiar with vaping. Are you?
It was my understanding that vaping was developed by the tobacco industry to help smokers quit smoking. If you're in that
and still get
need to taper off kind of thing instead of just quitting cold turkey.
Right. Yeah. So it can't be that good for you either.
It's not good for you long term because there are a lot of
well, then some of them still have nicotine,
heavy metal byproducts in the as well as the nicotine that
it definitely is not good for children for sure.
Get introduced to your body via your lungs, via your respiratory system. Okay, improve air quality.
With air purifiers and ventilation.
What is that you're sitting next to, Palmy?
That is a air purifier. We purchased 2 of them while we were going through COVID. I was told how important it is to clean the air, and we were going to have family over during family events and stuff like that. And so I purchased 2, one to be in Kevin's room because he has a lot of allergies. And so allergens in his room has helped with the allergens from the outdoors that come in. And also with people coming in and out of our house. I think it's improved your allergies quite a bit. And getting vaccinated against flu and pneumonia is another prevention.
Yeah, there's a specific vaccination for elderly people for pneumonia.
Pneumonia, yeah. We always get our vaccinations.
I don't recall as being called. Just might be if you explain the
It's pneumonia.
anti-pneumonia vaccine.
And I don't think you get it every year. Pneumonia is, I think, every 2 to 3 years or something. I'd have to look that up, but
I
it's
don't
not
know
every year.
how often it is, but it's
Yeah, not like the
every
flu.
year.
And another thing is management. So medication like bronchial vaporizers and steroids to ease the symptoms. So here I'd like to put in to our talk. Your father has COPD, quite bad. We actually ended up traveling to where they live in Tennessee to help out during the winter because it was so cold last winter that they had trouble going out and taking care of chores and stuff like that.
Yeah, as soon as my dad set foot outside and got exposed to the cold air, it flared up as COPD.
Right.
So he ends up sitting there kind of in a crouch position, struggling to breathe.
Right.
So doing stuff
And he
is
does.
like
He
out of
uses
question.
steroids every single day through a nebulizer. Yeah, to improve his lung function, and it also puts he uses it through an oxygen therapy every couple of hours in order to improve his symptoms. Surgery in advanced cases such as lung volume reduction surgery or lung transplant or a lung transplant. It's important to consult your healthcare professional for proper diagnosis and treatment. And yes, Medicare does cover both lung volume reduction surgery and lung transplant in certain conditions. So let's go into that. Let's talk about the lung volume reduction surgery. I'd never heard of it.
That's it. Between those two, I mean, they came out with the idea of transplanting organs before they came out with the volume
Reduction
surgery. What they do is they open up the clogged area, and obviously it's a very lengthy surgery because there's like thousands of them in your lungs. So in the area that wasn't open to absorb oxygen before, after the surgery, would be able to.
So it just clears up that area to make it more efficient.
Correct.
Because what your lungs do is it scrubs the air that comes in, makes it accessible to your blood to enter your blood and to supply your blood cells or your veins with blood, basically. Arteries
yes.
and bloods. Yeah. So that's what it's doing, is getting it where it needs to be.
It's getting it to where your body can absorb the oxygen, putting it into the bloodstream, and have the bloodstream distribute it throughout your body.
Makes sense. Now, then they also talked about lung transplants.
Okay, obviously, lung transplants are dependent upon the availability of lungs to use for transplants.
Right. There's a long list.
It's like, as with other diseases, they require a lung transplant in certain cases, like emphysema or lung cancer. It can damage your lungs, and you can be missing part of your lungs. You have to be part of the registry, get on the list, so to speak, for a lung transplant. That's how it works in this country. And that list can be really long or really short. It all just kind of depends on where you live.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell a little story here. My dad started smoking when he's told us 12 years old. He started smoking when he was 12. I guess it was cool back then, and everybody did it. And he smoked until he was in his probably 40s. When he was in his 50s, probably 55, he had a massive heart attack, probably due to some of the, he had heart conditions, but it was probably due to some of the smoking, causing damage to his heart and to his lungs.
Right.
And when they went in, he had quit at that point. My grandma had died of lung cancer. My step-grandma had died of lung cancer, and he said it was the most horrendous death he'd ever seen. She was in pain until the very end. And so it had made him realize, I think that, and my mother screaming at him probably, that he needed to quit smoking. And so he probably had quit in his 40s. So he probably had quit for about 12 to 15 years prior to this heart attack. When he had the heart attack, they had trouble getting him off. Of course, they did an open bypass on him, and they had trouble getting him off the ventilator because of his damage of his lungs that he had done while smoking. They said that his lungs were still covered in a black because of the tar on his lungs. And he had difficulties being removed from the ventilator due to that. And that was after 15 years. Your lungs can repair themselves, but it takes a really long time to repair themselves. And it had done a lot of damage prior to him quitting. So just an example of how smoking can really change your life like that,
Yeah, it's about the same for my dad. He didn't have heart issues, but he's got really severe COPD, as we talked about. And he started smoking when he was really young, in that 10, 12-ish range of age. And I don't think he quit until he's in his 70s.
Right. He started quitting when he started having COPD issues, right?
I really don't know, but I assume so.
Yeah. So smoking really can cause a lot of issues for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a big portion of our history where it was considered to be cool.
Right.
It was actually tobacco companies would advertise with doctors saying, "Oh, it's good for you."
Yeah. Well, I can remember back in the 70s, actually, they would, when women weren't smoking as much, they would give it, say, if a woman had a nervous condition or something, they would recommend that she would take up smoking to help her nerves and stuff like that. So that's where the Virginia Slims came in, and all that stuff. So, yeah. So there's several ways of treating the COPD. Like we said, we talked about the volume reduction surgery and the lung transplant. We talked about oxygen therapies for the COPD, and there's several ways that they can administer the oxygen therapy. There's a nasal cannula, which is the small tubes that protrude that fit into the nasal passages and deliver oxygen directly. There's a face mask, which covers the nose and mouth. I think that's what your dad uses, isn't it?
I think so.
Rose, our daughter, used to have use the nebulizer. She had pneumonia quite a bit when she was a premature baby, and she used to use the face mask a lot. We used to, not with oxygen, but with the medication, and she used the face mask. They had cute little fish-shaped ones and stuff like that they put over her face. They have the oxygen concentrators, the device that filters oxygen from the air and provides a continuous supply. Your dad doesn't use oxygen continuously, though. The compressed oxygen tanks, cylinders filled with oxygen that can be used at home or portably. and the liquid oxygen system, more compact and efficient storage of oxygen for easier transportation. I see those around and about all the time when you're out shopping and stuff, people carrying those around. That has to be just terrible, but hooked to something all the time.
Yeah, and I've also seen people walking around with those oxygen tanks and oxygen masks as they're puffing on cigarettes.
Yeah,
So
not very safe.
No.
Oxygen therapy can be used continuously or as needed, such as during sleep, exercise, and travel. It helps reduce breathlessness, improves sleep, and protects organs from oxygen being deprived. If you're considering oxygen therapy, it's best to consult a healthcare provider to determine the right approach for your needs. COPD is a progressive lung disease that worsens over time. It's typically categorized into 4 stages based on symptoms and lung functions. 1, mild, stage 1. You experience occasional shortness of breath, but symptoms are mild. Many people don't realize they're in the COPD stage. Moderate, stage 2, shortness of breath and coughing become more noticeable. This is often when people seek medical condition and receive a diagnosis.
Okay, and for some reason we don't have...
I assume there's stage 4, or 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
We've cut our notes have been cut off.
Obviously, 3 is a little bit worse than 2.
And 4 is the worst.
4 is the worst. I
Yeah.
assume that's the one my dad has.
Yeah. All right. Well, that kind of sums it up for COPD. If you guys have any more questions, just give us a holler. We'd like to hear from you. And let's do a little bit of housekeeping today.
Okay. Do not forget our website, www.whenlifegivesyoulemons.net. That can be used to support us via just has all our contact info if you want to send us email or fan mail, but to let us know what kind of job we're doing, or if you have an idea for future episodes, we'd love to hear about that as well. I recently started a Facebook page that is so we can directly interact with you. If you contact us via fan mail, it doesn't record your email address or anything. Just it's like sending a text via your phone, only without a return phone number. So anyway, if you have something you want feedback from us on, please use email so it can reply to your email address. Palmy, did you have anything to add?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay, that should do it about for this time, folks. So we'll see you next time. Bye. Till next episode, take those lemons and make your own lemonade.